Hi, I'm Midge Shoemaker, and today is day 10 of my doing 100 things day 10 of trying to face things that I have been avoiding for 100 days, day 10 of 100 days. I can't even get this out straight. I'm really tired, and my tongue is all twisted up. Tongue-tied, twisted. See, again, can't talk. Sorry, I should probably just start this video over again, but I'm not going to because I just don't want to. Just not tonight. Anyway, um, so day 10 of facing things that I have been avoiding, which I did. So in part, I'm going to share last night because I've, I haven't watched all of the general conference talks for my church. And there have been some years or sessions that I have missed. And this last session in April, I watched all of them, which was fantastic, but probably October last year, I did not. And so I kind of have some sporadic ones. So I made the goal, had the idea probably over a year ago to just listen to one conference talk a night before I go to bed at night. And I do it for a couple of nights in a row, and then I stop, and then I do it, and then I stop, and I do it. So I've just kind of been avoiding doing that. And last night, I actually listened to one before I went to bed. And I was like, once again, more things that I need to learn and be working on just by learning something from the conference talk. I didn't do anything about it today, but it was it was a nice thought. But I thought, okay, that's something I've been avoiding doing, but I did it when I went to bed last night, so I couldn't really make it in my video for yesterday. So I thought, I'm going to throw that in my video for today. I would love for that to count for today of things that I've been avoiding, but I'm not going to do that. The other thing I did today is I had a plan. I had a goal to do something today, and it was to go through some clothes, some of my undergarments. And because my religious beliefs, my undergarments are very sacred, and there's a certain way that you have to dispose of them. And so I needed to do that for the ones that are old and worn out and need to be gotten rid of anyway. And I needed to go through some other clothes and other things. But I've been putting off doing it. I needed to do it for a long time, for months, and I just haven't done it. Probably for over a year and haven't done it. Um, I'm very good at avoiding things. So that was my plan today. And then, of course, I told my friend that was my plan today. And because I told somebody it was my plan today, I don't know what it is with my brain or if it's just me. I think it's a self sabotaging thing. Um, but I start telling people what I'm going to do and how excited I am about doing things. And if it's something I'm excited about or something that I'm planning on doing, then I just don't do it after I tell people. And I don't know why I do that. I think in part because when I was growing up, every time I told my biological mom something that I wanted to do, she would always give me a list of reasons why I wouldn't be good at it, why I wouldn't like it, why I couldn't afford it, like all of these things, to the point where I just felt like it wasn't even worth trying. Like, nobody else wants to do that. You're the only one that wants to do it. You have to do it by yourself. You're not going to like it. You're not going to be good at it. We don't have the money for that. Like, there was always an excuse. And they weren't my excuses, they were her excuses as to why I couldn't do something or why I wouldn't like to do something. And then she would be like, well, I thought you were going to do this. How come you're not doing it? And I was like, because you clearly didn't want me to do it. It always confused me. I never really understood that. But I think in my life, as I've gotten older, I do the same thing where it's like I tell people I'm going to do something and I talk myself out of it. Like, I'm not going to do that, or I'm too tired, I'm too this, I'm too that. There's some reason it can't be accomplished, because that's kind of what I grew up with anytime I was excited or wanted to do something new. So I'm having to kind of overcome that a little bit. Um, and then there's the, if I do something or I succeed at something, then it makes somebody else feel bad. Because again, when I was growing up, my biological mom would make those comparisons between me and my siblings. And if I was good at something and they weren't good at it, or like music, for example, and my older sister was good at it and I was okay at it, but it was more important for my sister to have it than it was for me. It was more important for her to go to my sister's concerts than it was for her to go to my concerts. And so I just felt like I couldn't be good at something, and I was good at math and she wasn't good at math. And then it was like, it ruined her self-esteem because I was good at something and she wasn't. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt like everything was a competition, but it wasn't like a competition to try to succeed. It was like, oh, I can't be better than somebody else because then it hurts their self-esteem and it makes them feel bad. And it's more important for my sister or my brother or somebody else to have what I have or to do what I do or to feel good about themselves because I don't need that for whatever reason. I don't know. Or it's like, I guess she just assumed that I already felt good about myself because I could already do it. And so I could just back off and let somebody else do it. But I was like, I didn't even know if I was good at it or I didn't become better at it or excel at anything because I was afraid it would upset somebody else. So kind of rock the boat sort of a thing. But now that seems to apply to everything in my life. So anytime I tell people I'm going to do something, I do that self-sabotaging thing. I do that negative back talking thing. And sometimes honestly it's not even like a conscious thought, like I'm not consciously thinking, oh, I can't this, that or the other. Because I can I can recognize that that's negative talk and I can like counteract that in my head. But sometimes it's like, oh, I told somebody I'm going to do something, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now I'm not going to do it. Like I just shut down. Like something inside me just shuts down. It's like, okay, we told somebody, now we can't do it. Shut down. So not only was I avoiding doing it in the first place, then I told somebody else I was going to do that today. And then because I know I don't have to go to work tomorrow and whatever else, I'm like, I literally like after my friend left, I was like, and I'm not doing it now. That was literally the only thought in my head. I'm not doing it now. I'm like, yes, you are. You got to do it because you have to do something you've been avoiding today. And it became this internal battle for like, oh, over an hour, honestly, over an hour before I was even willing to do it. Probably closer to 2 hours, which is really bad. And probably only because, once again, my internet connection was on the fritz and my um, Roku kept buffering and buffering and buffering, which was driving me insane. So I was like, okay. And even then, I turned the Roku off and I just kept playing on my phone and doing other things to avoid doing this thing. And then when I actually got up and did it, it literally took me like 20 minutes. And not only that, but I found some bags of clothes that I went through and kind of sorted them like, these are trash and throw them away. These are ones that are going to give away. These are ones I'm going to keep. These are the ones I'm going to put in storage. Done. Literally piles in 20 minutes. And that was it. And I was like, I did all of that in like 20 minutes. And I was like, or maybe it was like half an hour, but I was like, that did not take nearly as long as I thought it was going to be. It was not nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. I was like, I have been putting that off forever, like years, not even caring. And it literally took me like 20 minutes to do all of that because I had pictured it as being so much bigger and taking so much longer and being so much harder. And then it was that much harder to motivate myself to do it because I told someone else I was going to do it and my brain just shuts down. It's like this automatic thing. You told somebody you can't do it. And then it's like that. Then I have to fight that much harder to do it. And I'm like, I know the idea of sharing with people and telling people is supposed to make you feel like you're being supported and encouraged. And I have a lot of people in my life that are supportive and encouraging me and telling me that I'm doing a good job and this is great and I'm moving in the right direction. But I don't always feel that way internally about myself. And sometimes I don't feel like I deserve to be moving in that positive direction because, again, not that my biological parents meant anything bad by it, but like I said, my biological mom was more concerned about the self esteem of my siblings than she was about mine. And she just assumed, I guess, that I had good enough self esteem or that I would just do things on my own, which I never did, and I would be fine. And I'm like, and I wasn't because I didn't get that encouragement from her. In fact, I got the complete opposite. I got the discouragement. I got the talked out of. I got the told I couldn't do. I got all of the opposite. And I talked to my sisters and they're just like, oh, she was so supportive and she was so loving and she was always there and she was always encouraging. And I was like, what mom did you have? Like, where was that mom? And I understand that she had a lot of kids and she had issues and she didn't have a lot of support and help in her own life. And so she had to pick and choose who she could help and what she could do because she only had so much time and so much energy. And she still had to figure out how to take care of herself. And it's hard. And I understand that as an adult. But like I said, when I was growing up, I didn't understand that. And I internalized things And I interpreted them as not being good enough, as not being worthy of doing things, of not being worthy of succeeding, and having the fear of upsetting other people and feeling like it's my job to make everybody else happy and not to be happy myself. And so I have to overcome these feelings. I have to face these feelings, which I do not like doing. I have to recognize that those are just false things that I have told myself or that I have learned to believe based on how I was treated. And not because anyone was trying to be mean to me or mistreat me. I don't want it to come off that way. It's just they did the best they could with what they had at the time, and the resources and the counseling and the stigmatisms and all of the things that we're aware of now, they weren't aware of back then when I was growing up. And my biological mom didn't have that support. She didn't have the mental health, the mental capacity. I'm pretty sure she was suffering from depression herself, and she had all kinds of other issues, and she was working full time and taking care of kids full time, and she was divorced, and that was in a day and age where not many people were divorced, and a lot of people looked down on you and wouldn't be your friend. I mean, I literally had friends' parents that told me I couldn't be friends with them anymore because I was a bad example or I was a bad influence because my parents were divorced. I'm like, I had absolutely nothing to do with my parents getting divorced, but I'm a bad influence because my parents got divorced. Like, it was just a weird time. Like, it's not the same time. It doesn't have the same stigmatism today as it did when I was growing up. But I understand that as an adult, but it's kind of hard to change that internal thought process, those feelings, those reactions, those responses that I learned based on how I was treated growing up, whether it was intentional or unintentional or whatever. That's just how I was treated. That's just what I was told, and that's just how I respond to things. And so I think for me, if I feel like it's a secret and I'm just kind of doing my own little thing and I'm like, surprise, I did it and nobody can get mad at me kind of a thing, or it's too late, it's done, which I know upsets people. Like, it can upset people by doing it that way and by not being open and not sharing. But I have a tendency to like, okay, I can do it. And then if I don't, then I'm just disappointing myself and I'm not disappointing everybody else. But I also think, I guess there's a part of me that I'm just realizing this right now as I'm saying this. I think there's a part of me that thinks that when I tell people I'm going to do something, that they expect me to disappoint them. They expect me not to do it or not to follow through because I haven't followed through with a lot of things in my life, or because somebody else needs it more than I do. And they know that, and they know that I know that. So they're just going to, they don't expect me to actually follow through on things. And I'm learning that's not true. I know that's not true, but that's, again, that's the thought process or the unconscious thought process, the automatic response trigger for when I tell people I'm going to do things. And so it makes it that much harder for me to have to convince myself to just follow through with what I'm telling people I'm going to do, because I can do that for me, because I'm worth it and I can do that. And it feels good to do that. And like I said, this thing that I've been avoiding doing and taking care of and going through bags of stuff in the bedroom, whatever, that I have to clean up because my friend is moving in. And I was like, I could put it off until tomorrow, but then she would see that I put it off until she comes over. And I was like, and I already told her I was going to do it. So I'm like, I have to do it. I didn't want to do it. I have to do it. And then it's like something I've been avoiding. So then I have to do that too. And so it's only because I wanted to make these videos today, because I don't want to skip days making videos, because then it haunts me. It did for like the 5 months I didn't make my videos for things that I wasn't doing every day. And I just got more and more depressed and discouraged. And just in the 10 days that I've been making videos, I have had more energy. I have felt better. I have been nicer to people. I've been journaling again. I'm like, this is very positive for me in my life. I need this accountability, as crazy as it seems. And I need to be telling people what I'm doing, and I need to be accountable to what I'm doing and to follow through with what I'm doing. And it's still very different and very outside of the box for me, because again, I grew up feeling like when I told my biological mom what I wanted to do, that she would talk me out of it, or she would tell me why somebody else needed it more than I did, and it was okay because it was more important for them than it was for me. And so for me to put myself up there and say I'm important and I can do this, it's just it still feels outside of the box to me. It still feels weird and uncomfortable for me to do that. And so facing something that I've been avoiding, and then telling someone that I was going to face that particular thing today just made it that much harder to have to go through some clothes and deal with things. And I was like, oh, I can't do this. But like I said, I did it, and it didn't take as long. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It was, it was a piece of cake, and I'm like, why did I make this out to be like it was going to take me 2 hours, and it took less than an hour, like probably 20, 30 minutes tops. And I was like, wow, I put that off until after 9 o'clock tonight. And now we're like pushing 11 or after 11 making my videos because I just pushed everything back to avoid doing that one task. And it didn't, well, actually, I guess it was multiple tasks to complete the one task, but um, it didn't take me as long as I thought it was going to. So I am grateful that not only am I facing the things that I'm avoiding, but it is helping me to see things that I grew up with, triggers that I have from my childhood. It is helping me to overcome those negative thought processes and responses, and to recognize that I have those responses and that they're not valid, and they don't have to continue to control me or to rule the rest of my life. I don't have to keep putting myself second or putting myself last, and I don't have to keep avoiding things for fear that it's going to hurt somebody else if I actually do that. Because I'm like, I don't know how much it hurts somebody by my not cleaning up and going through my clothes, other than it hurts me because I'm holding on to it and there's this big, huge mess. And then I'm just like, feel weighed down by all the stuff I'm not doing. And this is like one less thing that my friend has to do for me, so that I don't have to feel guilty about somebody else doing something for me that I'm perfectly capable of doing for myself. And I don't have to feel like I'm some kind of an invalid and I can't take care of myself. So, and then that reduces her stress because it's that much less stuff that she has to do for me as well. So it's overall very beneficial. And I'm very, very, very grateful to God for helping me to choose to make these videos, for showing me the changes that I can make in my life by doing this, and for helping me to see the false ideas, the false um, things that I learned that I interpreted, and how I interpreted it wrong, how my perspective was skewed and messed up, and that I can change that, and I don't have to continue to respond the same way that I was taught growing up, or the same way that I learned growing up. And I am grateful for that. And I am grateful for all of you that are choosing to watch these videos. And I hope you find something, some little thing that I say, some tidbit helpful, or maybe you can relate to something that I'm saying. If you want to share, comment about that, that would be fantastic. If not, that's okay too. And I hope you have a great day full of gratitude, and maybe be willing to face something you don't want to face and learn something new about yourself too.